What's going on, everybody? Hope you're enjoying your holiday season. As usual, we've got FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS coming up. They aren't actually the first country to choose their song, as they have been in years prior, because now we have a song from both Czech Republic and from Bulgaria. But we are seeing a lot of traditions that were missing from last year's show come back, including the orchestra. It's a show that I always look forward to. It's a show that Lydia always looks forward to. So let's talk about some of the songs that are participating this year. So before we dive into some of these songs, Lydia, tell me what it is that you like about FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS.
Well, first of all, obviously, FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS always means that the Eurovision season is finally kicking off, the Eurovision national final season in particular. And it's always the most exciting national final, in my opinion, because obviously we've had such a big gap between Eurovision and national final season. And about the FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS itself, I'd say it's a very authentic show, because obviously it's not specifically a national final, although it is used as a national final. I do appreciate that the songs that the artists are putting out are the songs that are close to them and true to the style of the music that they put out outside of FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS, obviously.
Yeah, you can see that they definitely keep certain traditions alive. As we know, that the show has been going on for longer than it has been used as a Eurovision selection. And you can see that they definitely take a lot of pride in their culture. Also, one of the programs that has some of the best vocalists of all of Europe, I would say, and that's something that we look forward to. And it's not even just when it comes to Albania's selection, it's also when we see other Albanians go and represent other countries, and I'm thinking of like Jan Stiers from Eurovision 2021 this year. But nonetheless, let's dive into these songs. We're not going to talk about all of them because there are quite a few. We're mostly speaking about the ones that are speaking to us, piquing our interest based off of the studio recordings. And then once we actually see those live performances, we'll definitely have our impressions change a little bit. But one of the songs that has been making a pretty big impact is by Alban Ramosaj, and his song is called Theje. So definitely a song that's difficult to miss. It's got quite a lot of power behind it. Alban is a remarkable artist to be seeing in this festival because he's actually coming off of a recent win at Këngë Muzika, which is another music festival that happens in Albania. It's also a televised event. And we've seen Eurovision artists in the past who have won Këngë Muzika later go to represent Albania at Eurovision. So that could mean good things. But Lydia, tell me what you think of his song.
Well, right off the bat, I am going to say that I'm a huge fan. It's definitely one of my favorites, if not my favorite of the selection. Big fan of the instrumentals. It's really interesting melodically. It's got a great package, but the raw emotion, the powerful voice that he has, oh my gosh. He's a great performer. Like the chorus is pretty memorable. It got stuck in my mind after only one listen to it. I don't know if it's like a weird thing to say, but I think the Albanian language really suits this song. Like it suits it so much that I want to cry about how perfect the combination is. Like any other language, it would not be the same.
That's a really interesting observation. And it's interesting because I'm thinking about the year that we just had, and I was actually just speaking about this in a live that we did on Christmas Eve about Neve from Portugal last year, and how he was kind of making an argument that he uses language as a creative tool. And, because sometimes it's better to reflect certain emotions and ideas using English, and other times it's better to reflect those using Portuguese. So in this case, I do find that really interesting that you feel like this song is well suited for the Albanian language. Sorry, I think I cut you off. You had more to say.
No, it's fine, because I love listening to you talk. The song really grasps my attention. I am absolutely in love with it, and it also feels like a finished song that is ready for the Eurovision stage. So I'm extremely excited to see it performed live. and
Mhm.
I'm convinced he will do really well.
Yeah, I think we can at least expect a good result. I know that sometimes we don't get the full ranking of how every artist scored from Festivali KÖNGÖS because we didn't really get that last year, apart from the top three and then the one extra award, the Tirana Award. So I do predict a good result if he doesn't win. But certainly lots of potential here. You mentioned the quality in his voice, and there's certain moments that really catch me. They really engage me. The fact that he goes so quickly from soft singing to full power belting, and then there's this one really long note that I actually timed to see how long it was, and it's 10 seconds, which might not be a record breaker, but it's still, when you're going at that level, yeah, it's impressive. He's come here to flex, and I just want to emphasize that. I mean, he's flexing his voice. We all know how he looks. He's a very good looking guy. He's also a model. And fortunately, unlike how it can be sometimes with very good looking people who participate in Eurovision Eurovision contests, it's not solely on those merits. That he is very clearly talented, and he's got a great song. So I'm very happy about that. I guess the one question that comes to mind is it going to be able to do that every time? Because we've seen artists that have, like a really, how do you say, who are really diverse in that way, who have the ability to have that level of dynamism in their singing, but then kind of tire out. And I'm speaking about Eurovision, not necessarily this selection, because obviously we see a lot of, as you said, this seems like it's pretty much ready to go. Because you need to be able to do that multiple times, like up to, I think, 12 or 16 times with all the rehearsals that happen. Yeah, it's going to be about endurance, and hopefully he'll be able to pull it off just as excellently each time. Yeah, I don't think there's really much else to say about this song. So let's move on to another fan favorite. This one is by Ronella Hayati. I'm going to try that again. We're not native Albanians, so hopefully people forgive us if we say certain things wrong. Ronella Hayati, and her song is called Sekret. Definitely lots of Eurofan appeal in this song. One that you'd probably call an ethnobop. Tell me, what do you think about Sekret?
Incredible song. It's honestly, it's like one of the years when I actually like the fan favorites, which is great. Love being in the same kind of headspace as the other Eurofans. What I really like about the song is how in the beginning it leads you to believe that it's a completely different kind of song than what it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
When I was listening to it, I was like, oh my gosh, another favorite ballad, whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really have anything about ballads, but it does get old after a while. So,
well, and
not
especially in fic, we do see a lot of ballads. So I get the feeling it's kind of like, there's only so many of them that really, really stand out. So when one starts out as a ballad, you approach it with a little bit of trepidation. But yeah. Sorry, continue.
It's fine. Don't apologize, please. I was really pleasantly surprised, and halfway through the song, I was already in my seat, vibing to it, dancing to it a little bit. And transitions like this are really hard to do right, because they can feel really out of place. Like two songs have been cut together and just stapled, I guess. But this one, the transition is really smooth, and it just it flows perfectly from one part to another, and just throughout the whole song, even, because it does changes quite a bit, the development throughout the song. Really am a big fan of the instrumentals, as well as vocalizations. She's really good at that. But what I'm the biggest fan of in the song is the delivery itself. Ronella has just such a star quality. It's incredible how some people are just born with it, I guess. I feel like performing is her element. That's exactly who she was supposed to be and exactly who she is. And she feels really comfortable with the song, obviously, and she's so fierce. I love it so much. It's simply perfect. I cannot wait to see how it's going to be staged, because I can already imagine that it's going to be an incredible show.
Well, just today, I was actually looking at some Insta stories from I assume the broadcaster, or at least the team that is involved with developing it. And we did see a little bit of Ranella's performance. Lots of dancers on stage, as you would expect. And I mean, like, everything you said, I completely agree with, as far as, the song having this really, smart blend of styles. It's interesting because a lot of, maybe not a lot, but the critics of this song say that it's not as well combined, and I certainly don't put myself in that category. I think that it's done in a really nice way. And the other thing too is that even if there are critics now, we've seen pretty consistently over the last few years revamps from Albania, and not only like the fact that they come up with revamps, but they're good ones, and they even if sometimes people don't agree with like the language change or whatever. The thing that I see pretty clearly is that they always elevate it with the production. It always has a bit of an extra punch. So I think that if this were to get chosen and get that revamp treatment, then it would win over a lot more people than we're seeing right now. But still a fan favorite. Really dynamic musically speaking. I love the exact same things that you love about it. That it starts off thinking it's going to go one way and then it takes a turn. And yeah, I really am excited to see how this is going to look live. It's definitely going to be a memorable performance, whether you like it or whether you're behind the song or not. So lots of excitement for that. And let's move on to another. It seems to be a bit of a lesser favorite, but an artist that we're familiar with. He was taking part last year and a few years back. This is Mruud, and the song that he has this year is called Erdrech. Before we dive into our thoughts about the song, I just want to read a tweet that Mruud shared about it not too long ago. He says, "It's hard to get the exact meaning in English, but it basically means I've gone to hell." So, definitely getting those raw emotions that we've heard in his songs before. I'm curious, Lydia, what do you think of this one?
It's a good one. I'd say I do prefer this song out of his three attempts so far at FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS. But at the same time, out of the three favorites that we have this year, if we can call it a favorite, I think we can call it a favorite anyway.
Yeah.
This is my least personal favorite, but it's still a really well put together song. Like one of those, like it feels almost finished. Not as finished as Alban's song, but still, it does feel a little bit finished. It's got Mruud's voice showcase, which is great. I love hearing that because I remember in 2018, I think his attempt Nene, he got to show off his voice as well, as opposed to last year. And I do think that this type of songs suits him more, in my opinion. And the live orchestra will probably be really suitable for it as well, especially during the instrumental breaks. And I also absolutely love the voice control that he has, as well as in all the other songs that he has already put out. He's a great performer, a great singer, especially like the delivery in the more emotional sounding parts of the song. That's pretty great. Also, it's good. It's objectively it is good. It's pretty obvious why people like it, and it's just kind of like not exactly my cup of tea, but still I can see myself liking it in the near future after listening to it for a little while, because it is easy to listen to, and that's what I always appreciate.
Yeah, and I would put this among, the catchier songs in the entire selection, which is important. And, it distinguishes itself enough for not, like, it is a ballad, but it's not kind of the slower, like really understated ballads. You know, you mentioned he does have an opportunity to show off his voice, and I also agree in the sense that this seems like a song that's a little bit more suited for him. Last year he had a great song. It's one that I still listen to this day. But you know, it must be said the performance wasn't there. He did not look comfortable. It was, you know, I'm glad that he tried it, but it just wasn't working for that year. And this could be a better opportunity. And I think if there's any advantage that this song might have over the other two favorites, or like at least specifically about Alban's song, because that seems to be the heavier favorite, is that in comparison, Alban's song is quite well. It's you know, lots of belting, and some people might, if let's say the performance is a bit intense, some people might prefer something that's more like Marood's, which obviously has those moments where he gets to show off his vocals, but it's a little bit more balanced in that regard. So I do wonder if maybe you know, if people feel that way about Alban's song, or even Ranella's song, which one thing I didn't mention about that one is that we haven't seen the Albanian jurors as part of FIC warm up to a song like that. And I know there's been some controversies in the past. So nonetheless, with respect to Përdretsh, I think it's a solid entry. And yeah, I would like to see this go to Eurovision, and it would be great for this to be the third time's the charm, as they say, for Marood. And as much as those are the favorites, we do have some other ones that we've chosen as personal picks. And this one is a pick of yours, Lydia. This is Gjergj. Gonna try. Gonna do my best. Gjergj Kacinari, and the song is called Endrr Mbete. Mbete. That's the best it's gonna be, but let's take a listen. So naturally, Lydia would choose one of the most challenging titles for me to try and say. But Gjergj is a returning artist. All good. You know, if I don't try, then I'll never learn. But Gjergj is a returning artist from last year. He was one of the finalists in last year's Festivali KÖNGÖS. What is it that what grabbed you about this song this year?
First of all, not gonna lie, absolutely hated his attempt last year. It was one of my least favorite songs of the year, like of the whole national final selection. But this year, I absolutely love it. It has a very chill vibe to it, and you can just nod along to the rhythm. You can just relax to it, sit back in your chair and just listen, which I absolutely love, because you don't always need bops and all of that. Like, obviously you do need them, but sometimes you just want to sit back and relax, and it's one of those songs.
Yeah, you would get too exhausted if it was all bops. So you need those songs that bring you down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and although it's not too rockish, but you can still hear that it's got some kind of like a rock influence in it. And I'm a huge advocate for rock in everything Eurovision related. So I guess sign me up as what they call a stan of this song.
Oh. Well, I mean, it is a really great turnaround, considering that you really didn't like this song last year. Yeah. The thing that struck me as interesting was that he was singing in such like a deep voice with his song last year, and this year you get a lot more. It's a lot more like it's higher, and it seems a little bit, at least, you know, based on the studio version, probably a bit more comfortable to sing rather than being all the way down there. But yeah, I mean, this one, it didn't grab me immediately, but it seems pretty at home with the style of music that we see at FIC. So I think ultimately it's just going to be a matter of what does it sound like live, and you know, maybe afterwards I might believe in it a little bit more. But now we're going to go to one of my picks, an absolute favorite of mine, probably a little bit old school for some people, but this is Rezarta Samaya, and her song is called Eyamya Nuse. So fans who have watched FIC in the past will know that Rosarta is a bit of a veteran when it comes to FIC. She's participated on a number of occasions. Of course, this was one of my picks, so I guess I should start with my thoughts on it. This is just really captivating, I find. Specifically, I really like the melody of the accordion that opens the song, and then later on, as the song kind of builds up energy and then drops away, she duplicates the melody with her voice, doing the which obviously sounds better coming out of her mouth. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's just infectious. It's got this kind of big band style that really vibes with me, and it's not something that I think we typically see at either FIC or other Eurovision selections. So I see this as quite a unique one. Maybe not a contender. I really don't know. Again, it's going to come down to what the jury thinks of those live performances. But one thing I'm pretty confident about is that this is going to sound great with the orchestra, based on all the instrumentation that you hear in the studio version. It's going to be amazing. But anyway, Lydia, what do you think?
I mean, I absolutely agree with you about it being a really fun song, and the orchestra probably is going to have a field trip with this one. It's going to be really fun, and depending on the running order, it can really stand out because it feels like a party. And with so many, no offense, but like really mediocre and kind of like the same sounding songs in the selection, it can like absolutely get remembered. And because the chorus is really repetitive, with the title getting repeated over and over and over and over and over again, it gets stuck in your head, so you won't forget about it, I guess. Although I'm not.
I have to say that it's probably the title that I'm most confident in saying, because she said it so many times.
It's not true. I think I would even be able to say it, and I'm really unconfident about speaking Albanian. Yeah. Although I've just like said all the praise to the song, I'm not exactly feeling this one. It definitely wouldn't call it one of my favorites, but I feel like it could do like surprisingly well. So I wouldn't like forget about it, and I would keep my eye out for it.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, I think it's probably going to be too old school, especially for fans who are a little bit more behind something like Ranella's song, which is has that mix of traditional instrumentation and modern hip hop and all that kind of music. But I'm still going to be looking out for it. But now let's move on to one of your picks. This is Olimpia. Let me try again. Olimpia Smajlaj. Like we said, this is going to be a test. Olimpia Smajlaj, and her song is called Dua. Gotta say, without a doubt, one of the most unique sounding entries that we have in this selection. Lydia, tell me, what did you like about this song that made you want to talk about it?
I was surprised at myself for liking this one as much as I did. It's got a pretty chaotic instrumentals, pretty chaotic singing, and just pretty chaotic vibe overall. So like on paper, I should absolutely hate this one, but I can't help but love it. I have a very short attention span, and like the elements all mixing together kind of make me invested more in it than most of the songs in the selection.
Okay.
I love her voice, and I love her attitude. Absolutely love her attitude. I really like this song. I'm not sure it will go far. Like, it just doesn't sound like something FESTIVALI KÖNGÖS juries will go for. But it will still be really fun to listen to it live, and even more fun if it actually makes it to the final, so I can listen to it more. So yeah, I'm really excited for this one.
And I got to say that this is another one that is not going to be forgotten because of that unique sound. And I have to agree with you about how it is a little bit chaotic in the instrumentation, because it does, as some people would say, it feels like two songs put together, maybe like 5 songs put together.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm also kind of here for it. It doesn't turn me off. It just kind of strikes me as a little bit odd. And also, in terms of when we were speaking about revamps before, it's possible that this could also be the transitions could be smoothed out a little bit more by some sort of rework if this were to be chosen. I also don't really see it, but I am looking forward to this performance because Olimpia is a pop star, and I've seen that she's done covers of famous pop songs in English, and she also sings in Albanian, of course. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they kind of clean up the parts of it that feel a little bit scattered. But one that I'm going to be keeping my eye out for sure. But now let's go on to another pick of mine. This is Janex, and her song is called Delusional. So I'll go right into my thoughts about the song. I think the thing that really just grabbed me is that it has a very different sensibility based, when you compare it to some of the songs that are a little bit more familiar for the style of music that we see at FIC. Janex is she's an Albanian artist that has participated in FIC before with her sister. These days, she's actually based out of New York, and a lot of the songs that she sings are actually in English. And she's also said that Delusional has an English version that she will be releasing on her own as well. But yeah, it's just different sonically. It's very electronic. Which is quite different to guitars and strings and really soft drums and all that. It did take me a second listen to actually to fully appreciate it. I would say so. I don't really know what that means as far as if the members of the jury, or even I know that there isn't a televote here, but the audience impression still matters, I would say. So I don't know what that means with that in mind. But definitely one to look out for, especially because of her style of singing too, because it's considerably softer. There's lots of vocal fry in there. It's just going to be a moment, I think, and I at least hope that it's going to be a moment that people like. But you tell me what you think about Delusional.
Yeah. Her style of singing is like exactly the thing that makes me really interested in the song, because obviously her voice is really interesting and not like traditional, you would say, as to what you would usually expect in Festivali KÖNGÖS. It's really contemporary as well, like her singing and the song itself. Also, I don't know if you've kind of like made the connection, or if it's just in my head, but to me, the style kind of sounds like Arrnjeti Zahiri.
Oh yeah. That didn't come to mind immediately, but I know what you mean in the sense that Arrnjeti tends to bring songs that have like an electronic element to it. I remember there was one that had like a really nice, not dubstep, drum and bass a sound to it. So yeah, no, I see that connection.
Yeah, and I am a huge fan of Arrnjeti, so obviously I like the song as well. I can see myself really enjoying the live version of this, because I feel like she knows how to keep the audience invested, just from listening to the delivery, her like storytelling, and the confidence in the voice that she has. Like, I do really like this one, and I am really excited for it as well.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I am also curious to see when we get that English version if it has, a different feel, because obviously that will be the one that we can connect a little bit more to at a lyrical level, but has definitely piqued our interests. Let's move on to another one of your mentions. This doesn't surprise me at all, knowing who you are and your taste in music. This is Urban Band, and their song, once again, you've chosen a difficult one to sing.
I'm sorry.
Padre Play the music. Nuk kam fjalë pa drejtësi, unë jam vetë nuk e di si të vras nga dal, i fshehur në sputat e marxistë kam, në tore të mbaj manekin, tu nuk ka parazi, po shuaj pa drejtësi. Okay, Lydia, let me know. I mean, apart from the fact that this is a rock song, what is it that you really like about the song?
Well, it is good melodically. But yeah, it's a rock song. What do you expect from me? Of course, I like it. I'd say it's one of the best rock songs that we've had in Festivali KÖNGÖS like in the years that I've been following it, at least. Maybe there are like some really standout ones that I haven't heard yet. So let me know, please, if there is. I've been listening to Fix since 2017, so like put suggestions in the comments or something. And like it's giving really old school rock vibes, which is one of my favorite like genres, if you can call it a genre. Like I'm a big fan of like old rock, like British, especially British rock. It does like give a little
Yeah,
bit of like
classic rock.
yeah, classic rock,
There you
and
go.
it kind of like has the same uh, kind of vibe as Intention from Bulgaria, and like if you listen to them back to back, they do sound pretty similar in style and sound as well. And this obviously wouldn't win because it just doesn't sound like something that would. But if it did, it would be so weird to hear them like in the same context, especially if they
Hmm.
would be in the same semifinal.
Mm. Yeah, and I have to say that although this isn't like a favorite of mine, I prefer it to the to Intention for Bulgaria currently. I mean, I know that things are up in the air, revamps can happen, and all that. But yeah, I mean, from what I've heard, it's a nice rock song, and I think about some of the rock that we've seen at FIC, and I typically tend to enjoy it myself. But I guess you just don't see it as a contender because it does tend to be those ballads that get chosen in the end. Who knows? It's a new year. The appetite for
Yeah.
rock music when it comes to Eurovision is apparent. You have something else to say?
2017, but Eugen Bushpapa did win, and he did have a rock song, so maybe.
Yeah, I mean, but I would think of that as a little bit more of a rock ballad, whereas this
That's
is
true.
sort of rock. I mean, again, like the proper terminology is escaping me, but I see the nods to classic rock. It's definitely harking back to certain eras of rock that is still loved to this day. But yeah, with a great live performance, this could be a contender. I don't think there's any reason to not believe that. Um, let's end with one of my choices. This is one of the most fascinating entries, I have to say. This is by Shega, and the song is called Nya. So I've actually got a question for you, Lydia, because I also know that you're a fan of Sanremo. Did this song remind you of anything with the whistling from the very beginning? Something that we've seen from Sanremo recently.
To be fair, it didn't. But I know,
Okay.
I know what you're talking about now. But
Yeah.
it didn't remind me of anything back then. So if you want to
Uh,
introduce it, you can introduce it.
Fair enough. So the song that I had in mind was Musica Leggerissima. Excuse me, Musica Leggerissima, which participated in Sanremo 2021. Was a song that also had a lot of commercial success. I believe it won one of the awards as well at Sanremo. But anyway, the reason why I mentioned it, not only because of the whistling kind of reminding me of this song, but Shega is actually a band from Italy, and they sing in the Arrnjeti style of Albanian, or I mean, they call it the Arrnjeti language, and I believe that it's kind of part of the language family of the Albanian language, and it's the language that's spoken among the Albanian population in Italy, and I find it interesting that it kind of has that influence from indie music, Italian indie music. I just really enjoy the kind of laid back acoustic sound of it. It seems to be a pretty unique entry for Festivali KÖNGÖS, at least as far as I've seen in the last few years. And it's comparable to like the feel of a thick ballad, but sonically I think it's quite distinct, and that makes me pretty excited about it. So tell me what you thought about this song.
I do agree that it's really laid back, and the first word that comes to mind when listening to it is authentic. Like in a way that I can imagine myself hanging out like in a group of friends, and one of them just goes, "I wrote a song. Do you want to hear it?" And this is just like the kind of songs that would play, and it's got a very chill vibe. I do as I already mentioned, I do like chill songs. So no surprise, I like this one as well. And I would also not mind listening to the song when I'm on the road, when you're looking like out of the window and you see the fields and forests and nothing else. That's the perfect song for it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it's got kind of like a sound of something that you'd hear a busker play, and even in the artwork that we see in their lyric video, they've got, you know, they're kind of dressed in an old-fashioned way, as if they, you know, kind of travel the country, and they play songs, and, you know, in kind of a Roma fashion, that kind of thing. So I don't know, this is certainly an entry that I'm going to be excited to see. As we mentioned, we're not going to be able to talk about all the entries because, you know, there's so many of them, and you know, it is difficult to really speak in detail about all of them, especially since the live performance is going to be so critical. But I do want to mention a few names that are also ones that we're going to be looking out for, specifically Evi Reci, who is returning from last year, as she was the winner of the Tirana Award. Samir Çili was the composer of Albania's Junior Eurovision entry from 2019. I don't know if you know that one.
I've read about that one, yeah.
Okay, it's actually, I don't follow a lot of junior. Excuse me, I don't follow a lot of Junior Eurovision, but I do really like that song. I felt like it was really, really well done. We've also got Castro Zizo back. Do you remember Castro Zizo?
Obviously, how can you not?
Yeah, you know, bringing a song with, you know, more or less the same energy, different sound. He's notable because he is a voice actor. He's done the Albanian dubs of a lot of international movies, and some other songs that have been generating some buzz among the fans. Casey's song is really optimistic, and I think that could be, if it's performed in the right way, could be considered a contender based on what I've seen from the Albanian jury. And we're also seeing a lot of support for Ester as well. She's got, you know, one of the softer kind of ballad songs. But, you know, really anything's on the table, as always, when it comes to FIC. The thing that I'm going to be most excited to see is the return of the orchestra, I have to say, because we missed that last year, and it really does make a difference. Any other final hopes for you, Lydia?
Well, the hope for me is just that a good song wins, which will be really easy.
Yeah.
Because a lot of songs this year are actually pretty good, and I don't mind them. And I would not be disappointed in a lot of the songs winning, especially in the fan favorites at the moment.
Absolutely, and it just really is that kind of unpredictable factor about what happens when it's just, you know, selected by a jury. But nonetheless, we're equally excited to see what it's going to be like, and we hope you are too. And we want you to let us know, who are your favorites. Put it in the comments. Who do you think is going to win? Can you come up with any better guesses than we have? And are there any songs that we didn't mention that you really like and are speaking to you? If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Eurovox, because we cover Eurovision all year round, including the national selections, as you can tell, because it's December and we're 5 months away from the actual show. But nonetheless, we'd love to know what you have to say, and be sure to reach out to us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We'd love to know what you think of this selection and some of the upcoming selections. Until the next video, we will see you then.